council tax is so broken, it punishes the poor more than the rich. No, seriously, just watch this.
Did you know you pay more council tax on a £150,000 home in Hartlepool than you do on an £8 million mansion in Westminster? How does that make sense? The less you have, the more you pay. That's how council tax is working right now. It's not just unfair, it's making it more expensive to be less well off. This tax system is based on house values that haven't been changed since I was in nappies. Feels like we're in spin cycle, same broken tax year after year. Time for a tax that's simple, fair, and based on what your home is actually worth. That's what Fair Share is busy fighting for. But enough's enough. It's time we got this sorted. Head to Fair Share, tell your MP you're in favour of fairness.
Ever feel like every pound you earn comes with a government leash? Yeah, you're not the only one.
After thinking about it, you know what I realized? I just don't like government. They've got their sticky fingers in everything we do. Everything we earn is taxed. Everything we buy is taxed. Every move we make is monitored. Everything we want to do needs a license or a permit. You can't do anything without getting government permission first. Enough government.
Council tax. If you thought that bill that landed on your doorstep with those huge hikes was the last one of them you're going to see, you are sorely mistaken. From working as a councillor in a local council that isn't doing very well, which is replicated across the whole country, I know for a fact that new huge council tax rises are already being requested, it's already being discussed, and I can see that there'll be many councils up and down the country that will be having their council tax increased again by above the cap.
Imagine paying more tax than someone in a £150 million mansion just because you live in the north. No joke. Watch this.
Somebody who's got a £150 million mansion in Westminster pays less council tax than somebody in a 3-bedroom house in Blackpool.
Correct.
I don't believe that.
Do you know, could you tell me how you think council tax is calculated in England?
Good question.
Yeah, property bans.
I think it's based on the value of the house.
So you would think that, wouldn't you? However, it's actually based on property valuations from 1991.
Really? Gosh, that's a bit out of date, isn't it?
Cool. So, 30 years ago.
Over 30 years ago, exactly. And so we're in a situation now, as a result of this policy, where someone who is living in a 3-bedroom house in the north of England, where property prices are low, they can pay more council tax than someone who lives in a multi-million-pound mansion in central London.
That's bonkers. Not right either, is it?
Really?
Oh, I shouldn't be like that.
Would you be interested in hearing what we're proposing as an alternative?
Go on then.
Scrap council tax
Right?
altogether, scrap stamp duty,
Yeah.
and scrap the bedroom tax applied to social housing. So what we're proposing is a proportional property tax, which is a flat 0.48% tax on the property value, which is charged to the home owner, not to tenants.
Yay! That sounds like a really good proposal.
That sounds very intelligent, I think, and a lot more fair.
It wouldn't benefit us,
It wouldn't, no.
but if we were charitable about it, I suppose we would say it sounds like a good idea.
Would you be in favour of a change to the system? To one
Most definitely. Most definitely. And certainly when people are renting property, I don't think they should be paying it at all. Sounds like a good idea.
Apparently, the easiest way to pay less tax is be rich and live near Parliament. Convenient, right?
If you want to pay a lower rate of council tax, there is one quick and easy tip. Move to Westminster, obviously. Yes, the council home to the heart of UK government also has the lowest rate of council tax. Why? Because council tax is dreadful, but it's even more dreadful than you think it is. For example, this is a very nice house in Westminster and you can buy it for roughly £5 million. The council tax bill is roughly £1,800. And this is a very nice house in Hartlepool, which you can rent for £1,300 a month. But the council tax bill is roughly £3,300. So here's the question. Why does Westminster, one of the most powerful and richest councils, have the cheapest council tax? Why is it dreadful? And ultimately, what is it? Council tax funds councils who locally fund local services. The amount you pay is determined by your house band, and your council decides how much that band pays. It was brought in by John Major, and in 1993, all of the UK had their houses put into bands based on the property value. It hasn't changed since. But this isn't why Westminster is cheaper. Council tax isn't the only place where councils get money. Westminster gets a lot of its funding from businesses, not homes. So ultimately needs less money from people paying council tax. So the main reason why it's cheap is because people's council tax is effectively subsidised by those business rates. And levels of expenditure for councils can vary massively. Westminster's average wages are so much higher, there is less need for some council services. So while everyone needs bins collecting, you might have lower care requirements in certain councils. While we can't directly point the finger at politicians and accuse them of lowering council taxes, the entire council tax system is kind of shit, which, you know, they could change. Income tax, for example, charges a higher percent as you earn more. Council tax is not this. It's a regressive tax system. Should we fix council tax? Are there bigger problems we should be worrying about? Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon.
People are losing their homes to pay for care, and we're told council tax is helping. Watch this and tell me that adds up.
So I've got a question for you all. So council tax, as we all know, has gone through the roof. Household bills, your gas, your electric, your water rates, it's just fucking ridiculous. Food prices are astronomical as well. But one of the big reasons the council have said that council tax has gone up by so much is because of adult social care. Because people are living longer. Fair enough. Need more money for that. So if that's the case, riddle me this. Why is my dad having to sell his house to pay for his care and needs in a care home at £1,250 a week? Why is he having to do that if this adult social care has gone up because people are living longer and obviously going into care homes and need looking after? I'd like to know where this money's gone, because I don't believe it's going on adult social care. I think the council is sticking it somewhere else. Just don't trust them at all.
What's the most expensive council tax in the UK? For that matter, what's the cheapest? And how does what you're paying compare to the high and the low? Rutland and London, specifically Westminster, are the two places where the highest and lowest council taxes are to be found in the UK. But which is which? So on the one hand, we have Rutland, a tiny little council, and on the other, we have Westminster with the Houses of Parliament and lots of tourists and all the MPs and an enormous concentration of wealth. Of course, Rutland is the highest council tax and Westminster is the lowest council tax. But how much is the difference and how do they compare with the average and what you're paying? First of all, the average band D in the UK is £2,171 every year. By contrast, Rutland, £2,422. So the big question, how much more are you paying than Westminster for your Bands D? Well, in Westminster, it is £914. So that's okay then. We're all in this together.
£172 a month for a 2-bedroom flat. Sounds like the council's charging rent now.
Okay, real quick, okay, because I need to check something right now. I just got my council tax bill. Monthly, the bill has gone up to £172 a month. What? For a 2-bedroom flat? Is that correct? Am I being scammed? Maybe I'm being scammed. I don't understand. What are other people paying for council tax, by the way? For the size of their property, what are people paying? Because honestly, I feel like the calculations are calculating wrong. I had to call the man. He was like, no, that's correct. If I live in inner city London, then yeah, maybe. But I don't. I'm in the sticks. What the hell? £172 a month for a 2-bedroom flat. Am I right to be shocked? Is this too much? Are other people paying this much? I'm so confused.com right now. I'm so confused.com and I'm so annoyed. Anyway, what can I do? I've got to pay it.
Before they ask for more council tax, maybe we should ask where the last £20 million went.
Asking for more council tax. What are they doing with the current council tax we pay already? Can you see a return on your council tax? I can tell you what one council's doing. So let's talk about Barnet Council. Recently, Barnet Council issued a section 114, which is similar to bankruptcy, where leaders of the council have to get together quickly within 21 days and find out where all the money is going. Because on this occasion, an overpayment was made An unlawful overpayment was made of £20 million. And you want us to pay more council tax? Like, what? Where did the 20 million go? Into a pension fund, but it was an accident. 20 million just... Now, I need people to know, and people always ask me, well, why am I going to care about politics? Why am I going to care about things going on in the council? This is why. I need people to know, wherever they live, if they're paying council tax, you need to find out if your council has issued a Section 114 notice, because you need to start understanding and questioning where your money is going. Now, this is a list. The most recent ones, okay? Nottingham issued a notice in 2023. Ask them where the money's going. Ask them why they have to file this Section 114 notice, which essentially says we can't meet our financial obligations, which will then lead to cuts of services. So where is your money going? Birmingham issued in 2023. Woking issued in 2023. Thurrock issued in 2022. Where's your money going? Why should we pay more council tax when they do not know what they're doing with our money? We need to start having meetings with the local councillors, meetings with the council, meetings with the MP. We need to start questioning. No one in normal life in business would keep on giving money if we are not seeing a return.
You all woke up on this brisk Tuesday morning. You'd have all received your council tax bills via post, via email. I'm from Bolton. I just want to talk to you about this. Back in February, Bolton council tax bills in Bolton to rise by 5%. I then got an email, your council tax bill for the year 25 to 26. So I open the email just to look at the bullshit, what they're going to come out with. 5.5%, not 5%, 5.5%. I'm now going to be paying over £2,000 a year for something that I don't even know what I'm paying for. And then they tell you where the rises are, where your council tax is going to be going. So within a couple of minutes of reading that bullshit email, I then responded, and I have let Bolton Council know they will not be receiving a penny from me this year in council tax until they can fully explain to me where that £2,000 a year is going. Because they've dimmed the street lights, the potholes are an absolute disgrace on the roads, the area's just turned into a shithole, the local town's a shithole, never see a policeman on the street. Where is it going? Well, to be frank, they can sit on that. Has yours gone up? How much has yours gone up?
Ah, well, there we go. Council tax is going to rise for everyone to the maximum amount allowed for the next 3 years at 5%, and councils can also ask for additional hikes if they're facing bankruptcy. For f***'s sake, here we go. When is it the additional 5% gets added every year? I can't remember what month it is. Rachel Reeves, just a few moments ago, said on an interview on Sky News that further spending may be funded by rises in council tax. She also went on to say and point out that councils don't have to do that, but they're kind of being forced to do it, and they're gonna do it. Like, they're not gonna hike it up to the maximum amount. Of course they greedy. She also refused to rule out the possibility of other tax rises being announced in the October budget. She is totally this up. She is winging this. Literally winging it. It seems like someone has lied on their CV to get into a job here that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're just winging it day by day. This is what it feels like what's going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. For sake.
Sure, Dave hasn't paid council tax in 10 years, and he also hasn't owned a door.
So apparently the British people are going to stop paying council tax because some elections have been postponed. Whatever, but these videos are everywhere on my feed today, and they are dangerous. The reason for that is, if you look in the comments section, there is always some utter spanner. I haven't paid council tax for 10 years. Nothing's happened to me. They can't do nothing to me. Yeah, mate. Unfortunately, the people replying to your comment are quite vulnerable and would also like to not pay, but you're misleading them, because the truth is you're actually broke, unemployed, and living in your mum's spare room, innit? That's why you haven't paid council tax for 10 years. Like, that you will get a CCJ, you will get an attachment of earnings, and they will get their money. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you start. I've seen people quoting maritime law for. Oh, it breaches GDPR. The bailiffs won't be able to get your address. They can't get your address, mate, because you're not a named tenant anywhere. You've never owned anything. That's why the bailiffs has never turned up at your door. You don't own a door, mate. Like, and what these people are doing are misleading people, and it's going to ruin their life. If you get a CCJ, if you get an attachment of earnings, and you aspire to get a good job, work in certain sectors, open a business, become FCA anything to better your life, right? And then you listen to Dave, who ain't paid council tax for 10 years, he will screw your life up. trust me, I know these things. Just, like, fair enough, innit? Like, council tax, yeah, people are pissed off, whatever. But if you listen to these people claiming you don't have to pay it, it's against the law anyway. It's not. It's just the comments are absolutely sad. It's not law. The court summons are fake. Yeah. The court summons are fake. Google how many people are in prison for not paying council tax. Fair enough, they're not going to send you all to prison, innit? But they will give you all CCJs and attachment of earnings if you've got a job. If you're claiming benefits, they're just going to lower your benefits, Dave. That's why you ain't paid fucking council tax. Jesus Christ.
Ring, ring. Hello, Tom speaking. Hi there, is that Tom? Speaking, that's why I said it's Thomas. Oh yeah, just making sure you got your letter. Who's this? This is your local council. Oh yeah, I got the letter he sent 5 times. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so you know the council tax is going up by 5%. Yeah, great. Yeah, okay. Well, if it's going up, so it doesn't surprise me. But as long as bins are being collected. Yeah, your bins will be collected just once a year now. Once a year? Well, at least the community centres that I use regularly for socialising still there, so, yeah. Well, actually, that's going to be closed next month as well, and the sports centre and all local facilities paid for won't be used. So wait a minute, I'm going to pay more for less. I guess when you put it like that, yeah. In what world does somebody pay more for less? Do not take that language with me. I didn't use any language. I said it's threatening. I'm going to report you as a hate crime. No, I didn't mean that in ding dong.
Why is your council tax around £2,000 a year for your little 2-bed house? Yet there are people living in mansions and even palaces with gold taps paying just over £1,000 a year. How does that make sense? Well, here's how the con works. Council tax bans are based on what your house was worth back in 1991. I'm not kidding. The year Nirvana was topping the charts and John Major was Prime Minister. They've never updated them. And why, you ask? Because the rich would have to pay more. And we can't have politicians upsetting their donors, can we? So, while your modest home crept up into a Band E, Lord Toffington's 10-bedroom estate is still a Band H, even though it's worth $5 million now. And guess what? Band H is the top band, even if your house is basically Downton Abbey. It's not just unfair, it's a scam. It's time to unfreeze these bans. It's time for the rich to pay their bloody fair share.
I'm standing outside One Hyde Park in Knightsbridge. This luxury apartment building is one of the most expensive places to live in the country. Harvey Nichols is just across the road, and Harrods is down there. Yet, this building has one of the lowest council tax rates in all of England. What's going on with that? A 5-bedroom apartment here is currently listed for £60 million on Rightmove, while 1-beds are going for £5 million a pop. The Westminster Borough has the second cheapest council tax rate in the entire country, ranging from £648.72 at Band A to £1,946.32 at Band H. Council tax in this country is regressive, meaning the poorest households pay the highest tax. The current council tax is set based on property values made in 1991, which is crazy. This is blatantly unfair, especially considering house prices in London have exploded in the last 3 decades. In Blackpool, a Band C property valued at £110,000 is taxed £2,126.41. That's more than a Band H property around here. So what's going on? Why do the wealthiest areas pay the least amount of council tax? Due to the density of the population and other means of raising funds, such as government grants and business rates, areas like Westminster don't rely as strongly on council tax. Yet the most deprived areas often see a higher demand for these public services, such as social care. This creates a feedback loop where councils are forced to keep their council tax rates high, while the most affluent areas keep theirs low. Campaigners are suggesting that the government scrap council tax and stamp duty altogether, replacing it instead with a proportional property tax. They're suggesting that homes should be taxed at approximately 0.5% of their current value, with second homes taxed at 1%. This could raise up to £5 billion a year for the Treasury, exactly the same amount as Labour's cuts to disability benefits. This is similar to how it's done in the US. Someone living in a one-bedroom apartment in the Manhattan equivalent of One Hyde Park would pay the equivalent of £200,000 per year. That's more than 100 times the council tax rate here. In the spring statement, the Chancellor's cuts will harm the most vulnerable in society, but council tax reform would do the opposite. Obviously, it's a huge policy shift, and we'd have to be careful to make sure we're protecting people like cash-poor, asset-rich households. However, the potential is massive. A proportional property tax could give the Chancellor the fiscal headroom she needs to protect disability benefits and fight child poverty.
I haven't paid council tax in 3 years. That proves you can legally get out of it. I get comments like this a lot when I talk about sovereign citizens and their nonsense posts. So why should it bother me? Well, in desperate times as we are now with the socialists in number 10, people who are vulnerable and short of money are increasingly looking for ways to cut costs and maybe avoid council tax. The question, though, is whether or not people who claim to avoid council tax are telling the truth. Here's my read of their agenda. They could be lying to sell something. Many of the loudest proponents of lawful rebellion schemes often have something to sell. Courses, legal kits or advice claiming they can teach others to avoid tax legally. Essentially, they're grifters, exploiting people who are desperate to dodge taxes and fines. These scammers rarely follow their own advice. Fantasy and echo chambers. Some people genuinely believe this nonsense because they've been sucked into online echo chambers where they reinforce each other's delusions. Once you commit to a belief like this, confirmation bias kicks in and they ignore legal evidence to the contrary. Trouble waiting to happen. Some may have avoided trouble temporarily, but that's often because tax enforcement takes time. HMRC doesn't always act immediately, but when they do, penalties can pile up. These individuals might think they've got away with it, only to face severe consequences later. They're telling the truth. Of course, it's entirely possible that someone has found a legal loophole. But ask yourself this, if you found a way to avoid a multi-thousand-pound yearly charge, would you not charge more for it than £25? And do you think that solicitors might be falling over themselves to sell the solution? And to further clarify this, if it were true, I would be selling it. I am entirely happy with the idea of avoiding council tax. It's just this isn't a thing. Look, the reality is that most people claiming that they've successfully avoided tax forever are lying or living in denial. HMRC has significant resources, and when they do act, it's often devastating. High-profile cases usually end in hefty fines, bankruptcy, and criminal charges. In the end, these claims of success are either short-lived or fabricated, and if you're listening to them, you're probably being led down a dangerous and expensive path. Please be careful.
Now, I like to keep my grass cut, as you can see here. It's not amazing, but it's cut and it's neat. Now I'd like to show you the council's idea of cutting the grass. Look at this. This is my garden, and at the end of my garden, this is what I have to look at. This. Don't get me wrong, they do come round and cut the grass once every several months, but they never do the whole lot. This is what they did today, and I watched them do it. Yes, they cut round the signpost and then left the rest of it. When they do it, they always do 2 foot in from the edge. And when I asked them why they only do that, they said, because they're encouraging bees. Really? So, to encourage bees, I've got to look out of my front window and see that. Lovely. Now that has to be the worst excuse for not being bothered to cut the grass I've ever heard. Why? Seriously, why? I don't want to hear this nonsense about, oh, we're saving the bees. No, you're not. It's laziness. Why are we paying our council tax? In which case then, if our council tax is paying towards these services that you're doing, then I'll have a reduction on my council tax on behalf of the bees, please. Utterly ludicrous. Just lazy bollocks, that's what it is. Utter bollocks. And now I need another cup of tea.
How is it allowed to issue someone a fine without providing evidence of why you're issuing the fine? How is that allowed? How is it allowed? So I got a parking ticket in March, residents only parking. However, there was no road markings to suggest that and no sign. So imagine this, my friend's parked on this road, there was a sign saying residents only parking, and there was parking markings on the road there. This is one space, that's another space, this is another space. She parked there. We all knew that she was about to get a ticket. Me, however, me and our other friend, I drove around the area to try and find somewhere that I'm allowed to park, right? I was being sensible, with, you know, spend money like you don't like money. I'm not giving my money to you for no reason. So this street, absolutely fine. No sign, nothing. I parked there, still got a ticket. I appealed the ticket. I said, I think this is incorrect. I think this is a mistake. I wasn't parked on a residence permit. Like, why have I got this ticket? Hi, Amelia, you were blah, 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 whatever. I said, okay. The photos, the evidence photos are just pictures of my car. There's no sign there. There's no road markings. You can see that. So, like, I'll happily pay the ticket if you just show me where the sign is. Prove in the evidence photos, as you're supposed to, that I'm in a residence parking. They can't do it. I mean, they are refusing. We've gone back and forth with each other a lot now, right? Because you know what it is? It's principle. It's actually principle. I said, like, they're saying, I don't know what to say, Amelia, you must have driven past the sign. Show me the sign then, and I'll pay it. Because right now, your evidence, you've not got evidence, you've just taken pictures of my car. And you can see that there's no markings to even suggest it's a parking space. It's just a road. Like, I've just parked on a road. There's no double yellow lines, nothing. They are point blank refusing. Then one of my appeals, it was on PCN on hold. They took it off hold without telling me, and then sent me a letter and doubled the fine, more than doubled. Excuse me. I contacted them again and said, how can I take this further? You've been issued with a notice of rejection. You have to pay, otherwise it'll go up another 50%. From 75, they want to then charge me £140, £150 for parking on a road. Let's be serious. How are they actually allowed to do this? No one, like, I'm not even a stubborn person, but principle matters. Do you get what I mean? No one in that office who's dealing with this case has looked at that and been like, she's got a very valid point. That road's got road markings and a sign. Where she parked, there's no parking markings on the ground. There's no sign. So how's she supposed to know if this is a whole residents only space? There's a distinctive difference from where I parked and where it says this is residents parking only. Distinctive difference. So maybe that's an issue that we need to sort out. If this is also residents only road, we should make that clear, because otherwise we're tricking people. Do you know what I mean? So we should cancel that PCN. No, someone on that office is going on like I am personally owing them a mil. They're acting like I personally owe them a mil. I will go to court. Genuinely, I can actually see myself in court, like, fighting my corner here, because I think this is outrageous. I've said so many times I'll happily pay it if you just prove to me where the sign is. Prove to me that I was in the wrong, I was in residents only parking. Just show me. Why is that so hard? No, why is that so hard? You provide evidence photos, so provide me with the evidence. Because all this guy's done is taken pictures of my car. There's nothing on those photos to suggest I'm in a residence parking only. Can you see how outrageous this is? It's really annoyed me, actually. I just think it's outrageous. 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 I think it's disgusting, to be honest, I really do.
Well, Jason Lentleman, before I start, I just want to say this. Thank you. Now, just regarding liability orders on council tax, so I've got 2 charging orders on my property due to non-payment of a non-contractual tax that I have tacitly not agreed to wanting to pay. I am specifically here talking about liability orders. So if anyone in the UK watching this has had a liability order, what you do is you need to write to the court, explain to them under the Courts Act 2003, this is on the counciltaxfraud.co.uk website,
You can check it out for yourself, and you can check out the court documents online. Under the Courts Act 2003, 1st of October 2003, they stopped generating liability orders, and then by a justice of the peace, therefore no longer recognised as court paperwork. Therefore, liability orders since then have no authority. So they stop bearing the authority of the courts. So the liability orders most of us have got are not from a court, they're from the council. So there's two parts of fraud there, because the liability orders were ceased in 2003, and the council, who have no legal right to make money from the public, are not allowed to generate their own liability orders. That's fraud. So write to your local MP. This is very important, as I have done. They won't know about this, but you need to educate them that this is a national issue, and that liability orders were ceased in 2003, and everyone getting them are fraudulent documents, electronically signed, photocopied piece of paper, sent out in bulk by the council, committing their fraud to try and rule us with fear, going to their imaginary courts that aren't real courts. Okay guys, so that's very important. Now, an interesting factoid also is in chapter 41, part 5, section 79 of the 1972 Local Government Act, is all duties and liability orders of the inhabitants of a county shall become the duties and liabilities of the council of such county. Which basically means the cost for our liability orders are theirs, not ours. Hallelujah. So please do take a note of what I've said. Write these things down as a mindfulness exercise, and write back to the court that sent you that document, copy your MP, an email, preferably hard copy letter, of what I've just said, and say this is a national issue of fraud from all councils around the land, and the more of us that do this, the more power there is. This is knowledge. It's only potential power if you act on it with that knowledge. Okay, so that, and keeping that very brief, this is under 5-minute video. Please do watch this video, take notes, write these things down, and also counciltaxfraud.co.uk. Everything's on there. This is all I'm getting it from. This is not me. This is all from that website. Okay, so I hope that helps you. So I'm now in that process of, I've got charging orders on my property. Now I'm writing to Land Registry with this information. I haven't had a liability order that's caused a charging order, because liability orders don't exist. Hallelujah. So I hope that helps, and under my commercial terms, this message has cost you £250,000 per hour or part thereof. Thank you very much, and good night.